Veni Creator Spiritus, mentes tuorum visita.
Hi, my name is ANDRÉS Cardona, and I want to share a few minutes with you talking about one of the major issues that today's society has, and it's attacking seriously the heart of the society, and that is the family. Its name is pornography or porn. But let me start with a passage from St. Paul to the Corinthians, and that is St. Paul, first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 23. Everything is lawful, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is lawful, but not everything builds up. And as you see, that's pornography. Porn in its heart, it's basically everything that goes against building up. And even though it's not illegal, we know that it's not something that is meant good or is good for our hearts, for our brain, or even for our souls, for our salvation. But let me start with the meaning of or the definition of pornography. Some call it a form of art, others call it an expression of sensuality, others call it erotica. But the Catholic Church, in its Catechism numeral 2354, clearly says that pornography is the removal of the intimacy of the sexual act from the intimacy of the actors out to show it to a third body, and doing this purposely. And it doesn't matter if it's real or if it's simulated. So whenever there's this uh, act being shown to others, that's pornography in any way, shape, or form. But why is it so grief? Why is it so bad? Because it goes against God's plans for sexual for sexuality for humans, which is what is it? What's God's plan? Well, actually, it's a twofold. Number one is the union of men and women, the union of spouses under God's blessing. Two become one. And number two, procreation. It's a gift that we receive from God, but one goes hand in hand with the other. The moment we split them, we're going against God's plans, and that's what pornography does. There's no videos or magazines showing the act of a couple and then showing how the baby is born. So, how is this pornography being nowadays uh, so bad? Well, a few years ago, pornography was available in magazines or videotapes, and they were sometimes really difficult to get, and you had to pay for it, and you had to demonstrate that you were an adult or you had sufficient age. But nowadays, you have something that is all over the internet and is totally free, and there's no need to demonstrate your age. There's no verification how old you are. Therefore, it's so easy to see or get a hold of pornography. So, not only that, we see that there are other means to see pornography or to have pornography. There's movies. There are some channels that they still show pornography. They also show pornography sometimes in mainstream cinema, disguised as just mirror movies. Even books that are very popular that say that because of the fact that they're popular, they're not pornography. But if you look at the definition again of the Catholic Church in regards to pornography, you'll see it's the intimacy being exposed to a third body. But the effects of this is what worries because the person watches pornography, but it doesn't have only effect on the person that is using the pornography and its brain and its heart, but also to others. It affects others' lives, others in their hearts, in their feelings. Let me put it this way: pornography, when it is watched, when it is seen, it produces in the person's brain a hormone that is the same kind of hormone that is felt when the person has an addiction and is having effects of that kind of drug or whatever that person is going through. And this uh, dopamine or this hormone makes that the images that the person that the person is watching or is seeing get printed permanently or for many years in the people's brains. These images are so difficult to erase, and the problem is so vast that there are so many websites and so much pornography out there that, just to give you an example, one of the most popular websites of pornography here in the United States released statistics of 1 year, 1 year only, of how many hours users were watching pornography. And they said that it was up to 4.1 billion hours of pornography watched by their users in 1 year. 4.1 billion with a B. And that is equivalent to close to 500 million lives, like the span of a person's life, 500 million. Can you imagine how much can you do when one person's life, the span of a person, the span of a person's life? And if this is only in one website, with so many websites out there, it's incredible the amount of pornography that's out there. But the effects, again, is not only that those images get printed in people's brains and in the people's hearts, but also the effect they have on others, how they may react to certain things, or how they act, trying to represent what they saw, or trying to relive the acts that they were watching on pornography. Very famous author and researcher in pornography, whose name is Jason Everett, was sharing the other day that when he was talking with a nurse that worked in a pediatrician's office, this nurse was telling Jason that it is not the amount of the number of people, the abusers and molesters that are out there. Uh, the percentage of them, the greatest number is not the uncle or the friend, the neighbor, the neighbors that they have some sort of issues. No, it is not. It is teenagers, as young boys or young kids between the ages of 13 and 18 years old that they watched pornography, and then one day uh, this kid's sister is having a slumber party, and then the little friend, the 9 years old friend, um, get involved with the kid, and then things happen at the basement. One thing leads to another, and then this 9 years old girl gets traumatized for life, or maybe is a boy, and that boy will become the next molester. So it's the effect not only to our hearts, but also what is bringing to others, what is showing to others. But things can be done. Things can be done, and we must help to stop this. When we start giving teenagers or the kid that is in seventh grade phone with full capacity to internet, we don't know what's going on behind that, and after 2 or 3 days, they might be easily navigating all these websites and all full of porn, and we don't know that. And remember, with the phones, there's also a new thing called sexting. What is texting for those who don't know? Is the kids or the person takes a picture with a phone or a video of themselves naked or showing parts, and then they share these images or this to their friends, to the girlfriend or the boyfriend. And unfortunately, once these images are posted or are sent via online, the images or videos, they're almost impossible to retrieve, and this person's dignity is lost, or is not going to be the same after that image or that video is sent out. So there are ways to control that. There are apps that can be installed in the phones to help avoid that. These are parental control apps that can be used. So let's take a more active seat in this situation. Um, Now let me put it this way: in my particular case, when I was about 9 years old, I remember when in the place where we lived with my parents, there was a closet and it was a place that I needed to use like a ladder or a chair to reach out on the top of this closet. And right on the top of the closet, there was 3 or 4 magazines, pornography magazines, porn magazines. And I recall to this day, there was one that was showing a couple, men and women, having relationship, having sex, and there was another one in which they were showing pictures of one woman being abused, being raped by many men, and then at the end of the magazine, they showed that she was buried with her head sticking out of the ground. And again, to this day, I have those images printed in my brain. But also, unfortunately, where I lived, my dad, who God rest his soul, he was an artist. He was a painter. He was an artist, and he used as models. He used magazines, porn magazines, and he used to have these magazines all over the house. And I used to get these magazines, and I was a teenager with all my hormones bouncing off the walls. So it was really, really hard for me to encounter and see these beautiful images of beautiful women and not feeling anything. It was really impossible. But once I found those, and I found also that there was something called masturbation, when I started enjoying both of them, that was the worst part because that was impossible for me to stop afterwards. I started doing that for many years until I started uh, dating, and then right around the beginning of my college years, I started dating those girls, and there was one which I invited once to start uh, having sex and watching porn. And we did that, and after a few months, we ended up our relationship. But then later on, I realized because she told me actually that she was dating other women, and that was the first time that I saw that the pornography not only affected me, but affected others. Like in this case, it was affecting her directly. Now she was having a homosexual relationship. But then I was I entered a stage in my life when I was a young adult and I was making money because I had my first job. And with this kind of liberty, quote unquote, liberty, I was able to, because I was living by myself, I was able to do whatever I wanted. And in doing that, also I was able to start buying uh, porn movies. And they weren't cheap. They were probably 30 to $25, $30 a piece. So I started spending easily $300 a month or more, $400 a month. And to me, it was like nothing because I used to watch those movies. And after 15, 20 minutes, deep inside of me, I knew that that was something that wasn't right. And I used just to just throw it away. So I was literally wasting money in pornography. So nevertheless, I deep inside, like I said, inside my heart was something. There was a little voice saying, "Hey, what you're doing, it's not right. You should stop that." So I I started praying, but it was not easy to the point that I was dating this girl. We were together dating for 5 years. We got engaged. We were gonna get married, and with less than or with almost a month and a half before our marriage, I was confessing with the priest that was helping us during this time of the engagement, and he was going to get married. He was going to marry us. And when I confessed that, I told him, Father, I have to tell you that unfortunately I have an issue with pornography, first, and then second, this woman that I feel that I love, but I do not desire her like I desire the women that I see in porn movies or in porn magazines. And he said, right instantly, he said, well, what you just told me is very serious, and you need to stop that relationship right now. Otherwise, I can, or because I cannot marry you. And I said, wow, what can I do? And evidently I had to stop that relationship. And as you can imagine, her heart was completely devastated, to say the least. She had the wedding dress, she had everything, we had the reception ready, we had everything ready. But unfortunately, because of my pornography addiction, I lost her and I also broke her heart. So this is now the second time that I'm hurting someone. And this time was really, really, really serious, and all because of pornography. So during this time, I'm thinking, but gosh, what can I do? Lord, I do feel that I'm doing something that is not right. What can I do? And I started looking for God more intensely. I started going to places where I knew that they were praying. I knew that they were looking for God. So that was deep inside of me a voice that said, yeah, you have to do this. But right before I reached bottom, and that bottom was the worst ever. And that was once that I was at this place, went for $1 a bill or a couple of quarters. I used to watch all the movies that I wanted, all kind of pornography movies, porn movies in less than 5 minutes. I see the person that was attending this place, that this man approached me, and I saw that this person had no intentions other than to have sex. And I said, no, this is not for me. I better step out of here. I do need to get out of the bottom of this. So with that in mind, and with my conscience being called out to do something different, I said, Lord, I need you to help me. Until definitely one day, the person that I was dating, she noticed that she caught me actually watching pornography, and in her computer in her house. And she said, instead of kicking me out, she, by the grace of God, she just basically told me, listen, you have a problem, you need help. And she took me to a priest, a very, very good priest. And she took me there. And this priest, he said, the first thing that he said, he just pulled a crucifix and he showed it to me. He said, look, this is the first thing that you need. He pointed to it. He said, you need him to help you a lot. You do. And number two, you need professional help. You need a therapist because you have an addiction. That's when it hit me. I said, what? Addiction? Really? Wow. Never thought that I was going to be in an addiction. I thought that it was just alcohol or drugs. But no, pornography is an addiction as well. So I said, well, God, I need your help because I don't want to continue on this path. I want to change my life. I do. So I started, like I said, I started looking for places. I started looking for the right people. And then in that search, I found the group that I belong to, that is Shades for Love, that's Castus por Amor, belongs to the Archdiocese of Miami. I've been with them for over 10 years already, and as part of that, I started looking for help. I started reading books. Um, I started doing all things to change as a process to leave that behind, and that leads me to the 10 steps that I had to go through to overcome the addiction. And the first step was to accept that was pornography, that I was weak, that I needed to change, and that I needed to look for some serious change, that I needed to start making some changes. And in that, I started deleting videos that I had in my computer. I started uh, getting rid of, I got rid of a bunch of movies that I had. I also had to disconnect my internet. I had no internet anymore. I even had to cancel my cable service. I had the basic 4 or 5 channels that they had available. And also I had to leave some people because sometimes there are some people that are not good influence to you. I mean that they're not good for you, and your plans of changing, you have to leave them behind. You say goodbye. So that was the first thing. I started making those changes. Number two, I needed to take some serious uh, steps towards doing that. And just the same way that I cut out internet, that I decided not to see some people, I also made some adjustments to my daily life. In what sense? For instance, I knew that in my route from home to my work, I had to drive to certain places that I knew that if I passed by one day that I was being tempted, I probably would stop by. So I even had to change the route of my path from of my commuting because I knew that it was the best thing to do. Number three, look for spiritual help. So again, once I realized that I was in the hole, basically, I started looking for some spiritual advice. I looked for a priest, like that priest that one day told me that I also need a lot of that I also needed a lot of prayer. At the same time, I looked for a priest that I felt comfortable with doing confession, and also I looked for books. Saint Alfonso of Liguori. He's a Catholic saint that has written very good books. That they're very good guides for for the search of the kind of help that you're looking for. So I would recommend those. So, and as you know, the saying is whatever, and you are what you eat. So the more you consume, the more you fill your heart, your brain with good things, the more you're gonna have as yourself. That's what you're gonna become. Instead of having bad things, that's what you're gonna become. Um, Number four is to start a life of prayer. And in my case, it was radical. I knew the rosary, so I started praying the rosary every single day. At 5 in the morning, I was on my knees praying the rosary because I knew that was the only way that I was going to be able to achieve my goal through the prayer, and with the help of our Mother Virgin Mary. I was in need of help, so I was looking for that kind of fighters with me in this battle. So when I did that, I was looking for this support. So I started praying the Rosary, and to this day, I still do I still do my rosary every single day. That's the strongest weapon that I've been able to find. Also, I'm doing the liturgy of the hours. I go to mass regularly, not only on Sundays, but also during the week. Nowadays, you can find masses online, so if you feel like doing that, that's very good too. Um, and just while I was doing that, also I realized that sometimes you get bored because for instance, in my case, doing the rosary, it was like okay, so I repeat and repeat, but at the same time, I found a way to practice at that time other languages. Like I didn't know the rosary in English, so I got a hold of a rosary of Mother Angelica, and I learned it all from the beginning to the end. And then I realized, well, why not learn another one? So I learned one in French and Italian, so on. So it became to me a really good um, exercise. But then at the same time, it's like, wow, this is a very good weapon. Um, in addition to it, we need to learn how to discern, to notice, and to know which ones are good things and which ones are bad things. What are the things that are going to trigger our temptations? And we don't want that. We don't want to play with temptations. We as simple as being staying away from those. That's what we want. So when we do that, we need to pray for the Holy Spirit, for instance, to realize, hey, if I see in my phone that there's a message from someone that I know that is going to make me fall, then forget it, just delete that message or just block that person altogether. Same with messages on emails or any kind of messages that you can have or the phone. Try to avoid time by yourself. If you know that you're weak, if you know that if that's one of the triggers, then try not to be alone, for instance, trying to do all the things that you know that are going to make you fall. Also, you know, the virtues and vices get stronger with practice. So the same way that we know that we can fall, at the same time we know that if we practice virtues like being humble or praying or just getting closer to God, that will help us to achieve our goal. Also, very important, number 8, so sacraments. The Catholic Church has all these 7 sacraments that we know that are a gift from God, but if we go to reconciliation often, and by that I mean if it's necessary more than once a week, you can even call the priest and say, Father, I need help because this is a major issue that I have. I'm 100% sure that you'll find the priest that will help you with that. And having the Eucharist, the Holy Eucharist, those are 2 very very strong um, uh, helpers that we have from the Catholic Church, and obviously the gift of the Eucharist from God being among us live and among us is the greatest gift that we ever got from Him. And we also we want to obtain the help from a professional. Like I said, I needed to look for a therapist, and in doing that, I realized that I was being helped, and it was expensive. And if you recall that I told you that I was spending over $300 a month in pornography, and now I was spending almost $500 with a therapist. Yeah, it was not cheap, but it was worth it. But yeah, the remedy was more expensive than the sickness, but that's what it is. I needed help, and it was well worth it. And then number 10, do not give up. Don't you ever give up. If you fall, just just stand up, dust off, and continue. And remember, go back to number 1 if you need to. Don't you ever forget number 1. That we're human beings. We make mistakes, but we also have the greatest gift of God, which is His promise that we're gonna be saved. So with this, I want to leave you. In my personal case, I was able to overcome the pornography, overcome this addiction through help through the help of others and through my prayers, but above all, with the grace of God. and I never knew that I was going to be um, worth or was going to be worthy to receive uh, anything that was beautiful, like a spouse or anything. I, but one day I found the person that is my wife today. I have a beautiful family, and all that is a gift from God. So don't you ever give up, keep on fighting, and God bless you all.